now tuned in to the Cold Hard Truth, Cayman's #1 hard-hitting live podcast show, where we feature some straightforward conversations on political, social, and celebrity news and all things happening in the Cayman Islands and around the world. This show was created to give the people a voice and a means of being involved and informed without any filters. Sometimes it gets crazy, but we always keep it real. We bring you the tea, piping hot, so grab your favorite beverage and join the conversation via WhatsApp at 324-1612. Email tips at CaymanMorrowRoad.com. Now, here's your host, Sandy Hill, broadcasting live from the beautiful Cayman Islands.
Delivering these days can be frustrating. You can either wait forever or pay insane prices to get it faster. Even then, you still have no idea when it'll reach its destination. That's where Miracle Brokers comes in. We are flexible, reliable, and most importantly, fast. Whether you need household relocation, delivery services, full custom brokerage, overseas consolidation, commercial moving, packing materials, overseas consolidation, or inter-island moving, we offer exceptional logistic services all around the world that suits your individual needs. Just choose when, where, and what your delivery will be. You can even get it delivered same day. What's more, we'll choose the best courier for you based on your delivery requirements. This means less waiting and less hassle for you. Because we don't just say we care, this and much more make us a great option for you. Discover our shipping solutions and more at miraclebrokers.com today.
Okay, good morning, folks. Happy Monday. Happy Monday. Buenos dias to Elizabeth. She is the first person to give her morning greetings today. So, Elizabeth, I trust that you had a wonderful weekend. Good morning to Lisa. Everybody's looking good. Lisa, I love your profile picture. Good morning, good morning, good morning. How was your weekend, folks? Did you guys have a fabulous weekend? Well, I sure did. So we're going to talk a little bit about that, and we're going to talk about some of the very interesting things that happened over the weekend. As usual, as small as this island is, it was still quite an eventful weekend. And trust me when I tell you, it's just shocking sometimes the things that happen in Cayman. Population of less than 60,000 people now, I think, because a lot of people have gone home, right? So Jake, buenos dias, good morning. Olivia, good morning to you. You guys are right where you're supposed to be. Now, I heard somebody using this term very much tongue in cheek last week about my guilty verdict. And trust me, that was the top story without a doubt. My guilty verdict has got to be the top story of maybe the entire year if it came out outside of the domestic partnership bill, I would think. I mean, the comments and the haters who only want to post on Cayman News Service, which is so interesting. But of course, because Cayman News Service allows them to post anonymously, and we also don't know if that's 5 people or each one represents an individual post, which I doubt, or individual person, I should say. So it could be the same 5 or 10 people who have this grudge posting, continually. But I must say that for every one of those, I know that the support is overwhelming in favor that this was actually a wrong verdict given the person and the truth that was being spoken about them. So I see someone messaging me here. Let me just try to see if that means there's anything going on with the microphone or anything. Can you guys hear me okay? Pocket dial. Oh, okay. Whenever I see people who I know, listen to the program calling during the show, normally it means that they can't see me or they can't hear me. So thank you for confirming. Olivia, thank you so much for tuning in. Hi, Vicky. Gina, Karen says morning from the UK. Hi, Karen. Larry's tuned in from New York. Good morning, Evelyn. Alice, good morning to you, honey. And Evelyn says, sorry for the ring. No worries at all. I just wanted to make sure that it wasn't something that was going on in terms of the feed this morning. So I was just saying that, I've received an overwhelming number of you calling me from overseas with your support. I mean, I had one guy yesterday, I was at my daughter's birthday party, which obviously is not when I really wanted to talk about any of this, but he said to me, it's just amazing because everyone in Cayman knows that guy. And they were just like, wow, they were so shocked at the verdict, given that everything I had said was true and that everybody knows that what I said was true. And I said, listen, the court again made it very clear. The truth of what I said had no bearing on the outcome of this case whatsoever. Now, I know from a layperson's perspective, that is a really shocking comment or really shocking legal position. And not everyone understands. How can you say the truth does not matter? And so at the end of the day, what the court basically found is that you are capable of harassing someone with the truth. So even if what you said is the truth, using words like calling them a pedophile, which may be entirely true, can still be a form of harassment, which to me is shocking. I mean, every single day I sit down and watch news reports and they're talking about people that they will say this person, is an alleged pedophile. I mean, there have been people who have called, what's his name? Prince Edward. Yes. The one who's in cahoots with Jeffrey, allegedly in cahoots with Jeffrey Epstein. Everyone calls him a pedophile because it looks like he did what he's being alleged to have done by his victims. So, it's just a different rule, I guess, here in the Cayman Islands that applies than in anywhere else. So it is pretty interesting, I must say. Andrew, thank you. What did I call him? Edward. That's the other son, right? Prince Edward. Yeah, Prince Andrew. My apologies. I mean, he's so ashamed right now, and the royal family has basically put him, all the way in the back of the bus, that he cannot even attend official functions, in any capacity where he'll be photographed and those photographs shared with the public. So he has been relegated to, the worst position, I think, in the royal family. Although many will have you believe that that's Meghan and Harry, it should be the person who's being accused of having sex with underage girls at properties of Jeff Epstein, who, allegedly killed himself. And now his ex-girlfriend and what they say is his arranger or his handler is now in police custody And they said that she herself was having sex with girls as young as 15 years old. So, yes, I just want to thank you guys for the support. Of course, like I said, the haters are going to blow their trumpet, and it's just amazing. Like, I had someone comment on one of her posts about how, oh yeah, that's what I get, and I lied about Phaedra Spence having been convicted. And I'm like, I don't understand how people get so easily confused about these things, right? We reported the same thing as any other news media in the Cayman Islands. You can look up Phaedra Spence. Phaedra, I think she also goes by McDonald. She was convicted. Her sentence is 2 years, and then she gets like a discharge or whatever. So I guess if she behaves herself over the next 2 years, nothing will actually remain in her record permanently. But why would you even go to a sentencing hearing if you weren't convicted? It's like the level of intelligence that we have to deal with from our own Caymanians is just astonishing in this country. So, people like that, people like, again, what's his name? George Ebanks. It's like when you speak the truth on these people, George was convicted of fraud. So while they're sitting down relegating and having a great time about, oh, I've been convicted. Yeah, I've been convicted of allegedly harassing someone that I told the truth on. And that truth might have been the hardcore truth because that's what this show is, but at the end of the day, it's just amazing to me that you could be convicted of defrauding the Cayman Islands government, of fraudulently signing a document that you were not supposed to sign, and all of these other things, alleged wife beaters and all these other things. And yet you think that this is a moment for you to, rejoice in what has happened to me. Well, you can rejoice all you want, but it actually doesn't change the facts. And the facts are you are a convict. And because of that, you will never be able to run for political office. And so those are the types of things that people seem to forget, I guess, in their moment of ridiculousness. And, we keep it truthful here on the hardcore truth. I've never been accused, or I should say, I've never been convicted, and I've never had to mount a defense of defrauding the government. They tried charging me with that foolishness, and the judge threw it out at the most early stage. I've never even had to put on a defense because the allegation was so incredibly ridiculous and with no evidence. So when they threw out a case before you put on a defense, what the court is saying, what the judge ordered the jury to do, was that this case is so weak that to even proceed at this point and force the defendant to respond to the charges would be, unlawful, basically. And that's why they throw it out. So, the haters are going to come. They were always there, waiting in the wings and waiting for an opportunity to make some sort of commentary, which obviously this verdict on Friday has given them. So, what can you do really but sit back and chuckle to yourself? Because again, once you know the truth, the court said the truth doesn't matter, but it matters to the rest of us. I've had countless young girls even message me over the weekend who had been some of the same ones who had supported, who had provided supported information. And Charles Whitaker actually said to me, he said, Sandy, where are all these people who, brought you the information on Mr. Leslie? And I said, well, here's the thing. Because the judge said that this was not a question of truth or not, right? All of that really doesn't matter. So it would not have made any sense to bring forward anyone in terms of a witness, not for those types of things anyway, because it didn't matter if it was true. So it didn't matter if we could prove every single thing that was said. That just wasn't what the judge was there to consider. And he made that very, very clear from the onset. So despite me having some serious concerns about how my lawyer handled the matter, and for the record, I'm waiting on the written judgment because the judge did address in his written judgment as well the fact that, there were some concerns with my representation as well. And also the fact that he had given extreme leeway to try to compensate for that. And despite that, the failings were still very, very obvious. But, so I wasn't, and listen, in any event, I would not have expected any victim to come forward because I know how vindictive this man can be. And I also know how, small this island is. And there's so many that would take the side of an alleged pedophile over a child and try to castigate them. So I had someone message me on Saturday, and this person said, "Good afternoon, CMR Sandy." Let me just read you the message. She was talking about someone who had experience working with him and was hurt by his actions. That was over a decade ago, and I don't think that she wants to refresh the past. But by her account, I believe her truth. She was also fired, but I'm in no position to be exact about the event. Just that I defend her and possibly others that express discontent about his behavior. This person says, "I know Matthew from Triple C School. I've never had any issues with him personally, but he offered to help me in the past, but deters his intent with flirtation," is what they call it. Normally there's a dollar sign attached to it. I don't entertain his questions. Being naive is a shortcoming that gives into becoming prey, to which now I've matured. People do take niceness for weakness or stupidity. I'm not ashamed of my past, as I've always been innocent by account. I wish him well with his future endeavors and hope he doesn't make the mistake of using women as pawn for his sexual exploits. Stay upbeat and keep well. Cordially, so and so. So, those are the types of messages that all weekend long I was getting. I was getting a lot of people who were saying to me, "Sandy, how can we help you?" I mean, I'm absolutely thankful and in awe. Everyone from doctors to, all sorts of business people stepping forward and saying, "Sandy, what can we do to assist?" And I really appreciate that. If you want to know more, some people are wanting to start a legal fund in order to assist with the appeal, should we go in that direction. So if you have any of those specific questions, by all means, please feel free to reach out and I'll provide you with details on that and how we intend to move forward at this stage. So definitely reach out to me and I'm happy to give you the information. But yeah, the positive response has far outshined any handful of individuals trying to be negative. So Carla, good morning to you. Hi, Vicky. Vicky says justice failed in the Cayman Islands. Too sad. Well, I have always been fortunate. I have always said this, that the thought that I think it's like 6 cases. I honestly cannot remember. I'd have to go back and try to recount every single one, but at least 6 cases prior to this. Justice has always been right. And so I guess at some point, just a matter of numbers, at some point, it's going to be wrong. Of course, people on the other end said, well, at some point, you're just going to get convicted because you are doing stuff. I'm like, okay. They've been all over the map in terms of charging me with everything. Let me share an example with you guys. On Friday, you guys know that I told you that there was some sort of a breach, not really with Cayman Mall Road, although we tightened up our security on Friday as a result of this email. But someone was spamming Candy Wacky, which is Cable Wireless. That was their original, if you remember, their original email extension, cndw.ky, and we all call it Candy Wacky, and .ky people. So someone got a hold of, I don't know if it's specifically just Flow, because I did notice it with some other .ky domains and stuff as well. And I don't personally know if those are associated with Flow or if it's something through Uniregistry. Like, I just don't know. But I know for sure Flow customers got this spam email from us. And we told you guys about it right here on the show on Friday, because as a matter of fact, during the show was when we became aware of it. And I think I even shared with you all a screenshot of the message that was going around. So it was purporting to be a breaking story that the Minister of Tourism was going to be opening our borders in August. So when these people spam you, right, they always send you these, stories that are just completely out of range and ridiculous. I'm going to just pull it up here for you guys again so you can see this. Just in the event that you're still getting this. So this is what the email said. Breaking news, Deputy Premier and Tourism Minister made the announcement that the reopening of Cayman Islands borders will happen or will begin this month, August. Kindly read for more details. Now, if you clicked on the read story, what actually came up after that, we discovered, which you should not click on these things if you have any concerns, is what's it called? It was like a form wanting you to fill out for flow or something with your details. Now, this is where, again, you don't want to do this kind of thing because, first of all, we would not be sending out that story, which is obviously wrong. You guys know our position on the reopening of the borders, which we're going to talk about here in a little bit this morning. But, I was like, yeah, we would never advise anyone to click on a story that's so obviously incorrect. But one person did, and they actually messaged us and said, why are you promoting flow? And I'm like, what are you talking about? I have no idea what you're actually talking about. And they said, they actually sent me a copy of what it was. I'm like, okay, first of all, this is a spam email. We're not promoting anything like that from Flow. I mean, Flow has, worked with us in terms of a marketing partner. They, like anybody else, can advertise on CMR. So I explained the situation to the individual and they're like, oh, okay, I thought it was weird. I'm like, listen, folks, if you think something is weird or something is peculiar, the best advice I can give you is don't click on it. The story doesn't make any sense. So I'm just going to pull this up here. But just to segue into what I'm saying to you is, this is what it said here, right? And this was like a little form. They wanted you to then fill out with a username and password or something. And again, you do not do this. So it said email address and password. That's all they're going to need to access and to breach your account. So we warned you guys from Friday as soon as we knew about it. Can you believe that on Saturday, I received a phone call Saturday afternoon after 2 o'clock, the RCIPS, Mr. Clark, and Police Officer Clark. I don't know if he's a detective. I don't think he's a detective, but, Police Officer Clark, that Mr. Shondell Bodden decided to contact the RCIPS because he'd received an email from Cayman Mall Road. It's just astonishing the steps that people go to. So there was some issue over 7 years ago, a personal issue with Shondell. And there was a complaint from him to the police at that time. That matter has long been resolved. And here we are 7+ years later. It's at least 7 years. And Mr. Shondell, not just contacting the police. He didn't just pick up the phone. He actually went to the police station. Now, Mr. Bodden lives all the way in East End, and he went all the way to Georgetown, where Officer Stanley Clark is stationed, and sat down with him and had him call me with Shondell there on speakerphone to say that, oh, Mr. Shondell Bodden is lodging a complaint because he received an email, not from me personally, but from Cayman Mall Road. I'm like, wow. Mind blown, like at a different level. I was like, you know what? Please tell him to grow a few. This dude has nothing better to do, clearly, on a Saturday afternoon to run to the police station about a ridiculously stupid email that, first of all, didn't even come from us, right? We had nothing to do with it. It was some spoofing spam email. Anybody with a little bit of common sense could have seen that. But even if you didn't know that and you hadn't seen our notifications of the spam email, which we posted, we didn't just tell you guys about it here in the show. We posted it on our page where thousands would have seen it. We posted it on our Instagram account where more thousands would have seen it. So even if you saw none of that, right, would it not have made sense to you that if you somehow got inadvertently, after all these years, you've never received an email from CMR, so this is the first one that you've received, maybe it was just an inadvertent thing almost, like, right? But the first thing you do, instead of just hitting the delete button and ignoring it, which is what most sensible persons would do, you actually run to the police and sit down with them and have them waste police resources as though they have nothing else to do, because clearly they have no unsolved cases. They have no unsolved murder cases, no unsolved assault cases. They have nothing else to be working on. for them to then call me with you on speakerphone, which I don't even know if that is correct police procedure. Okay. So this is where now, if I was an ignorant person, I would go straight to the police commissioner and say, why was your officer calling me and placing me? He didn't inform me that he's placing me on speakerphone, but why would he even do that with the complainant sitting there? That seems a little bit. So you guys know during that phone call that I had a few choice words for the individuals listening to the call. So it is that level of ignorance that we are dealing with in this community. And those people who will always have an issue with me, it doesn't matter what I do, right? They will always have an issue with me. So if it's a situation where, now I've been convicted, that those are the types of person with that level of intelligence, just like Phaedra and her family members who continually to harass me and send me messages. They will be the types of person who will jump on a bandwagon. And they think that I can be guilty of harassment for a single podcast, but they can do the most. They can message, they can do all sorts of stuff, and that they will never be guilty of harassment. That's the situation that unfortunately I have to deal with a lot of times. I do my best to ignore it, but I got to tell you, sometimes I just pop off on them. I'm just like, are you serious? And so Saturday was one of those days. I was like, why are you calling me? This person clearly has no common sense. And you are now wasting a phone call, wasting my precious time. I was so busy on Saturday because you guys know that yesterday was my daughter's 4th birthday. And we had a birthday party for her, which is fabulous. Thank you all so much for all of the good friends that turned out. I really, really appreciate that. It was an amazing time. She had a fabulous time. I must say, she loved it. And got lots of presents. She's still going through all of her presents and that sort of stuff, But yeah, this is the ridiculousness that I have to deal with. And I guess it just comes with the territory. I don't know. It is kind of like disgusting. It really is. But yeah, those are the persons I'm sure are loving the CNS story, which used the word cyberbullying in the headline. And listen, we're in the news business, and we get the importance of using the correct words to attract your readership. That's what you do when you want people to read your paper. You're going to use the most salacious terms possible. Like they went on and on about how the judge said, oh, we're not real journalists. Well, actually, the judge said that he was not in a position to say or to really consider if we were journalists or not, because the world of journalism has changed. And so they don't accurately put in everything that he has said. They just choose the bits and pieces that are the most interesting and will gather the most comments and the most readership. But believe me, we will make his judgment. We're going to get the judgment, and we will certainly be going through that in detail with you guys with a view to just making sure that you understand what the judge said. And if and when the matter is appealed, we'll certainly be reviewing what the appeal court has to say as well. So kudos to everyone. We have made a record this weekend. I wanted to show you guys this. We had a story. Now I know it's actually gone over this. I should probably pull up the most recent numbers, but this was as of sometime on Saturday. We had a story that actually exceeded a single story, 100,000 reads or views for that one story. Now this is a record for Cayman Mall Road. And I got to tell you the irony of it, which I shouldn't really be surprised by, is that this story was the most pasa story in the world. So the headline was "Man Angry After Estranged Spouse Arrives in Jamaica, Turns Up for Quarantine." So, this is just one of those stories that all about he said, she said, salaciousness, but people loved the story and people are down for it. So in fact, it has gone up to, oh my gosh, this is unbelievable. Hold on. You guys are not going to believe me. You are simply not going to believe me. Hold on here. I have got to share this with you. The number of views that it now has. This is amazing. Wow. Let me just bring this up, guys. Hold on one second. In the meantime, good morning to Marla. Hi, Joy. Jay, I think that's how you pronounce that name, is joining us from Tyler, Texas. Good morning. How are you? Jaren is here. Thank you so much for joining in. Marla, give me 1 second here. Let me just pull up this other one. So that was on Saturday. I'm going to show you the more recent figures now, as of right now, in real time, so that you guys can see this for yourselves. There we go. 190.4 thousand views for a single story. So here I am thinking that the story about me being arrested was the story of the weekend. And it turns out that this is a story that has nothing to do with Cayman. It's a pasa story, or a regional correspondent, did this story, but kudos to her, because she did a story that now holds the record for having the most reads on Cayman Mall Road. I mean, this weekend I was monitoring the numbers of persons who were on the website, and it was amazing to see so many people on, and the vast majority of them were actually reading this story. Yeah, isn't that crazy? So there's some mix-up story about a man in quarantine, a man in Jamaica who claims that him and his wife are supposed to be separating or getting a divorce or something or another. I'll put the link here so you guys can read it for yourself. I just read the first paragraph and I was like, what a bag of mix-up. But those are the stories that people love. Those are the stories that garnish a lot of attention. So let me read some of your comments, good people. So Carla, yes, good morning. Hi, Cecile, joining us from the UK. Hi, Lily. Thank you. Tamara is here for it. Sophia says, good morning, Miss. Keep up the good work. Proud of you. Doreen, good morning to you, my dear. Amanda is joining us. We have Manzi. Manzi, thank you so much. Manzi says, always check the email address where the email is coming from. That saves you a lot of trouble in identifying what's right and wrong. Now, Manzi, I know that as well. And I did have someone check it for me. And funny enough, it did have our email address. So I don't know if spoofers are now able to do that. But normally when you click on and who it's coming from, it'll say Cayman Mall Road, but if you click on that, you see the email address. It's actually from someone else, a different email address, but this one actually had her email address. So I don't know if this is new spoofing technology that allows them to put that in there, or exactly how this works. So I would have to probably investigate that a little bit more. I don't know much about the world of hacking or how these guys do this stuff, but I'll probably speak to someone in the security area who knows that. And we just wanted to make sure that we had not been compromised in any way, shape, or form. So we took, the necessary steps and precautions to just lock everything down further and to just verify that certainly was not the case. And we're happy to say that it definitely is not a breach on our end at all. So let me just see some of your additional comments coming in. So yeah, 190,000 plus reads. Can you believe it? So Irvelyn says people can be so vindictive. Yeah. What I find, Irvelyn, is people are clearly unable to move on. It's listen, people do stuff to us all the time. And especially when it's a personal relationship, there are times when things can get a little bit crazy. People can pop off, people can do stuff. And at some point you're just okay, this is done and over with. Let's move on. When you're talking about 7 years plus later, 2013, I'm trying to remember if it's even longer than that. It would have to be longer than that, actually, because I have been with my existing partner for 7 years. So it's before that. It's probably pushing 9 years, possibly 8 or 9 years. At some point, you just gotta let it go, and some people are incapable of that. And I do think it speaks to their mindset and their personality. So every grilling dude says, how do you grow your willy? Mine's only pinky length. Okay, I don't know that's supposed to be a serious comment on our platform, but we're going to put you, we're actually going to, I think we're going to put you in a timeout and possibly block you, my dear friend. Louis says, love the show, Sandy. Good morning, everyone. Cayman must uh, get, I think, into the 21st century, not only the financial industry, but also on social issues. Well, for sure, we are lacking in that department, Louis. We are way behind. Believe me, you. Marlene, thank you for tuning in. Good morning. Irvelyn says they have some pets. Oh, they have some personal vendetta against you. Yeah. I mean, it's, and listen, again, the vast majority of them, it is personal for, in terms of CMR, for simply reporting on someone that everybody else reports on. You know, over the weekend, there are a bunch of people who are like, oh my gosh, why did you put up that there was a fatal accident in Peace Bay area? And I'm thinking, say what? You do know that the police will report on this. The other news media are reporting this. Other news media have since named the victim, put up photos of him. They're the most. People don't go to them saying, why do you have this up? It's always like, oh, Cayman Mall Road must take it down, but everybody else can have it up. It's just a level of stupidity and ridiculousness here in the Cayman Islands. Anytime there's a fatality on our roads, we are reporting on it for more than one reason. Number one, it's going to explain to people, because people are like, why is traffic backed up? Why am I sitting in traffic at 6 o'clock in the morning or whatever? And so there's a logical reason to inform people that there's an accident here, there's an incident here. And of course, over the weekend, there were actually multiple serious accidents that same day. Later on that evening, there was a very serious one in Walker's Road that has left an elderly man hospitalized. They had to actually cut him out of the vehicle. We know that. We know he had to be cut out of the vehicle because the police actually provided those details. So we will often know in advance of an incident that there is an accident. We don't always have all of the minute details in terms of what transpired. However, the police come back and they fill in the details with their subsequent reports. And then social media is what it is, folks. The young man who passed away, Gonzalo McLaughlin, was a very likable young man. He had a lot of friends and coworkers who were shocked once they heard on Saturday morning that it was him that passed away. So our condolences to the family, but even the family must understand that once someone passes away in a community as small as the Cayman Islands, it's not that just their immediate family that will be hurt by their passing, but it will be a lot of friends and coworkers and loved ones who also are going to be impacted by that death. And so those people will automatically take to social media and start commenting and, having expressing their condolences and their disbelief that, a man who had everything before him in terms of he was young, he, was a good person, he was vibrant, whatever. Even when bad people die, listen, someone is going to mourn their loss. And so a lot of times now in the day and age that we live in, people will take to social media for that. So Lizette, buenos dias. She says, Cayman Mall Road, Dios te bendiga. So God be with you. Nicole, thank you. So Lisa says, anything you want to take off or sell, just put Jamaica in or on it. Jamaicans, we want to know where it's going on. If we are to cuss out the people, big up the people, or things that are things like that. Jam to the world. You know what is so funny, Lisa? I got to tell you the truth now. Most of the people who were actually reading that story were not in Jamaica. Most of the people reading it were in the US. Because we can actually see on a story how many persons are reading it and in real time and where they're actually located. And the vast majority of people, listen, it must be that maybe it's Jamaicans in the US, like in New York, because the vast majority were in New York and then Miami. So maybe they just allow the pasa mixed up stories just as much as the rest of us, because that is who was actually reading that story by and large. And yeah, I found that super interesting. I was like, what? These people love the sus, man. They love the sus. So they were all into it. And then after that, it was the US, Cayman, and then Jamaica. But as we know, Jamaicans are all over the world. So I can't say exactly who in the US may have been watching that. or reading that story, sorry. But yeah, quite a impactful story in terms of people were just really into it for sure. Thank you for tuning in for the Brac as well. Big shout out to everyone joining us from Cayman Brac, Little Cayman. We've got some real fans in Little Cayman as well. And of course, everyone in the Bay Islands who are now joining us by way of Bay Islands TV. So thank you so much for tuning in from the Bay Islands. Yes, Lisa, they are all over the world, that's for sure. Good morning, Atlas and Andy. Thank you guys for tuning in. Odette, thank you. Cayman Island says, why is it that CNS can print anything people email to them and they put the people say whatever they want and no one is suing them? The reason that CNS is owned by the white people. Well, I wouldn't say that no one is suing them. I think, especially early on, they've had their fair share of lawsuits as well. Probably unlike us, though, they don't really tell you when someone is suing them. We are all about transparency, even for ourselves. So when the conviction came down, we were the first ones. As a matter of fact, we reminded you guys that Thursday was the day of reckoning. And we were the first ones to put up the story because as the judge was speaking, I was actually in court writing my story. So we put the story up and I was the first one reporting on it. We did the live stream right after, which, by the way, the live stream has received an enormous amount of comments and, 99% supportive. I think there's that one from Faber's brother, apparently, threatening people. But other than that, the comments have been amazing. And that video has been viewed, I think, almost 20,000 times. So again, I wish to thank you guys so much for your ongoing support in terms of anytime we go live on CMR, you guys are here for it. Like literally we go live and hundreds of people tuned in immediately to just see what is going on and what is the latest that we're bringing to you. So we brought it to you first because just because it's about us doesn't mean that we're going to not report it. So I think what happens with CNS is they don't always tell you guys when they're being sued, but they've had their fair share, that I know for a fact, of lawsuits where they've also been, starting up like legal defense funds and stuff that people could publicly donate into. So I would say that there's that. And let me just pull up the video from Thursday, right after the verdict, but it's had a lot of views. So again, if you missed that, that explains a little bit about what transpired. So please check it out. So I do think that the other thing that CNS does that we do not do is the comments on our page or our website are linked to your Facebook account. So you can't post anonymously, right? So I want to be very, very clear about that because what that does is that actually deters people. So that video now has reached over 22,000 people. And it has 20,000 video views. So again, if you missed that, I'm going to just put that here in the comment section for you guys to go back and view it. So a lot of people now would have seen that video, and I may just ping it to the top because I think one of the issues is that a lot of people still were not really understanding what transpired. So I got a lot of questions over the weekend about how this verdict even was possible. So maybe I'll put that to the top of the Facebook page for people to continue to be able to see that for another day or so. But yeah, so, Cayman Islands, I think there's perhaps a little bit of truth in what you say, but there's some other factors to be considered, such as Cayman News Service allows for anonymous commenting, completely anonymous. So we don't know, like I said, if you go and read all their comments on that particular story, you don't know if that's 5 people, 10 people, or 1 million people. You just see the comments. So one person can comment 50 times and they can say all sorts of things. We don't do that. Our commenting section on our website and obviously Facebook or is linked to your Facebook account. So you need to have a Facebook account to be able to comment. Now, I've had a few people say to me that they don't like that. It's been a very minority, I should say, of persons who feel that way, that they don't like that. But it's to do this very thing, which is to cut down on the number of people who are trolling. Now, if you're going to take the time, which obviously there's nothing stopping you from going as far as creating a Facebook account, a Facebook profile, and then commenting, then that's on you. And we have seen people do that. We do see people who will create fake accounts. But once again, you still are creating an account. And it becomes very obvious when people click on your account that, you know, it is, it's a fake account. Like you can see it was just created, it has a profile that doesn't make any sense kind of thing. So, so yeah, I mean, that is one bit of a security measure, if you will, to really get people to be authentic. Listen, this is what I say, and I've always said this. If you can't stand up and have an opinion as yourself, then it makes your opinion even questionable, right? The fact that you have to hide behind a level of anonymity says a lot about what it is you're probably going to be saying. Like at some point, you just got to grow the balls to be able to say, this is my opinion, whether people like it or not. And it is what it is. Alma says, well, I read it also, though it was funny because that woman must have some money invested in that house, and that's why she went there. Yeah, Alma, like I said, I haven't really read the full story, but I think there's a lot of mix up to it. And there's always more than one side to a story. So I think the truth of the matter is, for a man to step forward and share this type of story and give this level of detailed information, which is a bit one-sided for sure, it is probably very fair to say that there is so much more going on here than meets the eye. I don't see any sensible woman. I don't know the woman. So I'm giving her the benefit of the doubt. Just showing back up in her home country of Jamaica, going to an estranged husband's house under these types of conditions. Because if you are truly estranged, you know that you are subjected to a quarantine and you're going to be in isolation with that person. And who does that? Because obviously, if you're estranged, that means that there's tension between the parties, and that type of tension can cause all kind of havoc and craziness, right? So I don't know. This isn't a situation where I'm going to pick sides on this because I don't know what those people are into, or anything of the sort. So, yeah. So Charles is going to be joining us here in a second because he has some thoughts on the verdict on Thursday that he wants to share. Good morning, John. How are you, my dear? So again, some sad news like we just shared over the weekend. There was a fatality. Quite unfortunate. Mr. Gonzalo McLaughlin lost his life. I think he's actually family to the premier as well. Probably like some distant cousin or something, but our condolences to his family, who obviously have been impacted by this. And I do know that he has children. He has several children. And by all accounts, he was a hardworking individual who was a good dad. And I'm certain that his children will miss him the most. So very, very sad news. On Friday, a bit of better news. The Nicaraguan nationals were able to return home. So congratulations to those. I think it was about 66 people, according to the governor's office. And so we wish them all the best. There's still a number of persons who are here. So I'm assuming that Cayman Airways will be putting on additional flights. And we do have additional information, which we'll post later on. Of course, the big news late on Friday was that Cayman would be closing its borders until October. And I dare say it ain't going to happen in October, folks. So if you're sitting back waiting on this to happen, I know there was a lady who said, oh, I want to see my husband. and so on, and we sympathize with you. You can see your husband, but you're going to have to go into quarantine, mandatory quarantine for 14 days at a government operated facility. Listen, the bottom line is this, folks. It is too hot. And I don't mean because it's summer. I mean because of COVID-19. That situation is too hot to allow our borders to reopen at this particular junction. The risk. So this becomes a question of risk assessment. And yes, there will always be some level of risk. But once the risk is all the way up here, you're only asking for trouble. And as someone pointed out to that lady, I think she's a little bit older, so she's in a high risk category should she or her husband get COVID-19, is you would rather have a husband that's in another country and alive and well, with the possibility of being able to see them again, than having them exposed to COVID-19 and be dead in no time. And those are the sorts of choices that people are having to make right now as it relates to the coronavirus. And this is unfortunate, but I'm telling you, folks, this is the reality of the world. The US does not have the coronavirus under control. In fact, they are now predicting, hear this, they are now predicting some 300,000 deaths by December the 1st. So as we have said, they've always had models that they will use to predict how many people are going to get infected, how many people are going to die, sort of these key indicators, right? Now, remember, as we have said more than once in this program, the number of positive cases, which also there's a new record on Friday, has now gone over 5 million in the US alone. Those number of positive cases do not represent the total number of persons who have actually had it, because there are a lot of people who would be asymptomatic and would have never been tested for it, but yet they can still very much spread it. And this is where the concern comes in with children. And as you guys know, the schools are going to be reopening, and some have already reopened in the US. We shared that picture with you guys on Friday of a crowded high school with the vast majority of kids. You see just 2 kids in this photo, maybe 3, I see a third one. The vast majority of these kids not wearing a mask. The student who took this photo was actually suspended from school. So again, when people speak up, they are made to be the bad guy in these situations. So they got suspended for taking and sharing this photo on social media because naturally the photo went viral. However, just over the weekend, just yesterday, the school was able to confirm that a number of students at this exact same high school have now tested positive for the coronavirus. Not surprising, not a shocker, none at all. So, folks, this is what we're dealing with. You speak out and you choose to speak out, but you certainly do so at your own peril. So imagine that young man. I hope he wasn't one of the ones that eventually got coronavirus. But yes, he spoke out, and lo and behold, the school now confirms that yes, they have a number of positive infections. And there will be others who, unless they've tested the entire student body, there will be others who I'm sure have it that they've not yet tested positive. And so now they're going to have to go backwards and shut down schools and, do the most. And if they had just taken their time and precautions and not forced themselves to reopen so quickly, and this is why the US doesn't have it under control. But let's pause that discussion because we do have Charles, who is joining us from the US at the moment. Charles, good morning to you, my friend. How are you?
Good morning, Sandy. How you doing? I'm good. Good morning, Cayman.
My mic is turned up so I can hear you. How are things there?
Things are good. Things are good. It's a beautiful day here in Winter Haven, Florida, as you can see.
Oh, wow. It is gorgeous outside. Now you're looking nice and crisp. Just bring your camera down a little bit for me. And there you go. Keep that laptop steady. Now, this is the clearest that you've been, because I guess in Winter Haven, Florida, you guys have really good internet there because, wow, you are coming in crispy.
Yeah, actually, the internet here is very good. I wish it was that good in Cayman. I mean, people keep paying for services in Cayman they're not getting. and there's no protection for people from this type of thing. I mean, there's so much wrong, son. There's so much wrong. But speaking about the coronavirus, I woke up this morning again, 5 o'clock, as
Mhm.
always, and I was reading that we have for the, thinking the second day in a row now,
Mhm.
yesterday, and it's the spike is going back up here in Polk County.
Oh my gosh. Wow. Crazy.
Yep.
Absolutely crazy. Well, yeah, I think the truth is there's going to be no slowing this virus down for quite some time. I'm glad that Cayman has decided not to reopen its borders in September. Now we're saying October the 1st, we'll reevaluate that situation. Realistically, I'm predicting not before next year. Let's just
Yeah, I
say the
believe
truth.
so too. I believe so too. I mean, since I have been back here, the numbers have risen in the U.S. by over 1 million plus, and I haven't been back for 2 months.
Unbelievable.
What's
Wow.
today? Today's the 10th. I think tomorrow will actually be 30 days.
Yeah.
But
Unbelievable. Well,
yeah,
Charles, thank you so much for joining us this morning. I was saying to people earlier that you were one of the persons, and I must say that there were a lot of people who reached out by way of phone calls. I had people, in Tampa, even Belize. I had a gentleman there who had some dealings with Mr. Leslie. And that person has actually said to me, we're going to speak to our lawyers and get you some documentation that proves the fraudulent activities and also proves the reports that have been made to your financial crime unit, in the U.S., in Cayman, that demonstrate that your government, whilst they're willing to prosecute you, and I shouldn't say the government in the broader sense, but the DPP's office, whilst they're willing to prosecute you and drag you through court for speaking the truth on this man and for quote unquote harassing him, we have evidence to demonstrate that a complaint has been lodged against this man. Because one of the questions that people always ask me is, well, if what you have said about him is true and if all these people have complaints, why is it that nothing has ever been done? Why does this man continue to get away with it? And we know that one of the reasons that nothing has been done is that, number one, people don't speak out enough. And even apparently the people who do speak out are still waiting for justice. They're still waiting for an arrest to be made. Nothing appears to still be done. So
exactly.
thank you for reaching out, being one of many that did. And I'll give you the floor now to share kind of what your opinion is on the verdict and what you think overall about what is taking place in the Cayman Islands with things like this.
Well, Sonny, first of all, I think it's sad that there was so many people. I mean, you didn't just pull these things out of your hat. There were so many people who sent you information and so many reports made about the individual. I'll give you something personal. I think I might have told you this, but I've never spoken of it publicly. A few years ago, some people's house burnt down in Windsor Park,
Mm-hmm.
and Mr. Leslie was up at K Brew outside, like under a tent. He was collecting money. He was collecting clothes and what people could give. And people were up there. I went up there. I remember the Saturday evening. I drove up there in my white BMW, pulled to the left side of the street. I got out. I had on me that Saturday evening $349 US. I handed that money directly to Mr. Leslie because he was there collecting to help those people. It was not a gift to him.
Mm-hmm.
I learned sometime later. I made mention, and this was to an MLA. I said to this MLA, man, I gotta give Mafia Leslie a lot of credit. He's always because he was on board by helping somebody with something else. He's always getting involved with helping people. Look what he did for those people on Windsor Park. And
Mm-hmm.
then the MLA said to me, boy, don't you mention his name to those people. The person said to me that, all that money that was collected for those people, they never got a penny of it. And I
Mm-hmm.
said, and they allegedly never got a penny of it. And I said, well, I gave him money for those people. I gave him $349 US for those people. So, all of these stories, all of these people telling pretty much the same story about the same individual cannot be a lie.
Mm-hmm.
But that is my own experience in dealing and giving to him in his collecting to help people and find it and being told that these things were usually, these monies were collected and used for self rather than. And I said, this is sad that somebody would use other people's tragedy for their own benefit.
Yeah.
But I
And
think,
in
Sandy,
relation to that specific incident, Charles, to the best of my ability, those persons have never had their house rebuilt, because I think some of them have also reached out to us and say that they didn't really, it was more about a matter of public show than anything else. And that's why I tell people, listen, even for myself, I will have people coming to me asking me to personally assist them for donations. There was a woman over the weekend whose father was in dire need, and she posted something on social media that someone sent to me, saying that he had been waiting for some 2 months to get some assistance from the NAU, and he had not yet received that assistance, and he now was in dire need of food and some essentials. And even when people come to me for help, I say, listen, whenever people come with their donations, I'm at the point now where I'm like, give it directly to the person, because I don't want people to even think that money came through my hands or my account, despite the fact that I am an honest person when it comes to that sort of thing. I write stuff down. I keep a record. I mean, I've had people, because they know me, they've sent money directly into my account to say, hey, I don't have any other way of getting it to this person right now. Can I put it in your account? And then you just hand them the cash, sort of thing, right? I even had one of my Roque customers, bless her, when we were doing a donation for a young man who has since moved back to the UK, Caymanian, but he's having better luck surviving in the UK than he was in Cayman. And he was having a really tough patch. And she said to me, Sandy, every single month you take out my payments for my Roque, fee, my support fee. And I would really appreciate you this month adding an extra $200 onto that and passing that $200 onto him. Because I think once you have a reputation of honesty, people, it's second nature, especially in Cayman, to not question it. But unfortunately, there are a lot of people here who want to get on social media and create a certain persona that they think, because they have 50 people comment on, right, that those 50 people don't necessarily know who they are. Maybe some of them don't. And they're supportive of their comments, that they can continue to hoodwink the rest of us. And so, I mean, I was saying earlier to someone, even at my daughter's birthday party at the venue that we were using, the manager said to me, oh God, I've known this guy for a long time and he is something else. And everyone has a story. Everyone has a unique story, like how you just shared yours. This guy was talking about how once he had an incident with Mr. Leslie where he had locked himself out of the car, and instead of waiting for someone to come and open up the vehicle properly, he actually smashed the window open with his hand and had blood going everywhere. And it was just like, there's always this show of like bravado that I'm bigger than everybody else and I can kind of do whatever I want. So I know he's got to be feeling himself since Thursday that, oh, I've been able to, because everybody called me the Teflon Don, so to speak, right? Because they brought all these cases against me and they've never won a single one. So he's got to be feeling his little nuts, man, over the weekend, because finally, oh, I'm the one who took Sandy Hill down.
Absolutely, Sandy. And here's the sad part about it. Here's the thing that bothered me about that was this. The whole case is that all the people that had all the evidence, all those people who call on you when they need, as if you are the premier, as if you are the elected representative. And some of those are the same people who sent you information about his behavior. Why? Those people should have been lined up down at the courthouse. They should have been lined up down at the courthouse. It shouldn't have been a matter of the verdict comes in, you get convicted, they convict you, and then people are now reacting to it. It should have, those people should have been there in your defense. But it is sad that when someone can behave like this in a society, and if you talk about it, you are punished. But it speaks to what a corrupt society, let's be honest about it, it speaks to what a corrupt society we are. And there are a lot of people who cannot afford for Cayman Mall Road to be able to out him because they got skeletons in their closet. And they know that Cayman Mall Road is not going to exempt them, you, me, or anybody else when wrong is done and when it needs to be reported. Cayman
Right.
Mall Road has done. Sandy, you have done a fantastic job, and let me say this publicly because I tell you this all the time in private. I appreciate your contribution to the wider community, and I hope our people recognize it. I want you to notice that I want to tell you something. I read last night on Yahoo News, on Google, sorry, an article from the Compass, where the Compass were talking about the Lee Rich book, and it made mention of all these other things, but it did not mention that Lee Rich said that Moses snorted 4 lines of Escobar's best and took Moses Colonel and took $400,000 to supply a ship to ship drugs around the world.
I'm surprised they even covered the story though, and I'm sure they only did it because it was trending in our platform.
They didn't mention his name. They said, and another famous, I forgot the word, individual, but true for legal, I think it was legal. They said legal purposes. We won't mention any names. No, that's not what it is. The Compass makes most of its money from government. They get all the government advertisement.
Yes.
And this is what happens. You see, this is why we're such a corrupt society. Because half the time the biggest criminals are the people who are making the decisions, and then they buy everything else, buy their way into everything else, and hold control of everything, and they cannot control Cayman Mall Road. That's why you heard them asking you, are you going to continue with Cayman Mall Road? This verdict was about being able to silence you. Being able to silence a voice for the people, a voice for justice in the Cayman Islands. You know, there's so much that we know and that is reported. For instance, you look at the other day with the coronavirus with the cruise ship. If it hadn't been for Cayman Mall Road, that cruise ship would have landed in Cayman. We might have had more deaths. We would have had many more people with coronavirus than we had it not been for Cayman Mall Road. So Cayman Mall Road has made a tremendous contribution to the country. I appreciate you. I do. I know there's a lot of people out there do not want to encourage the people to go out and support. You know, we have to stand. You have to stand with those people who stand with you. You know, we cannot continue to be cowards and tuck your head in the sand and talk nonsense about you're going to pray to God and God will take care of it. Somewhere I read that faith without work is dead. Somewhere I read that God helps them who help themselves. Somewhere I read that we have a responsibility. Praying to God does not absolve us of our responsibility to help to shape the kind of society that we want to live in.
Amen.
And when we see an injustice anywhere, I don't believe that we have the right to turn our head away, Cayman, and say, it's okay, it's not my problem. We have to realize an injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. And today, what's going to happen? You see, if you don't go out and stand with Cayman Mall Road, stand with Sandy Hill on this, what's going to happen the day come when you see something, Cayman, and you speak about it? What happens that day come when it's your child, your wife, your son, your daughter, your grandchild, your neighbor's child, who's like a brother to you or a sister to you, and then you speak about it? They come and they do to you what you sat back and watched being done to someone else, and it happened to you because you didn't speak for someone else. So there's no one left to stand for you. Now you're on your own. See, that's what this is. They're moving along. They're systematically, the system in Cayman is systematically targeting us, the indigenous population. We are under attack, and anyone that comes up and stands for the indigenous population is a target. We are under attack. We, the indigenous population of the Cayman Islands, we're under attack. I want to touch on something else that sort of bothered me. I see a Jamaican flag hanging high in Cayman, and the Cayman flag flying low. I don't know. I think I heard that was up by church because somebody can't go down and cut that down, because I certainly can tell you if I was in Cayman and I saw that, I'd go up and cut it down. I would damn well go there and cut it down, because you couldn't go to Jamaica and fly the Cayman flag higher than the Jamaican
Oh my
flag.
God, no way.
And rightfully so. Rightfully
Yes,
so.
that's right. I believe
What
that
to
that
make
would probably cause a riot in Kingston on that day.
and they would be right. And what to make these people think, what makes these people think that they can come to our country and do these things? We don't stand for anything. We don't have any courage. We got to stop being a spineless, weak nation of people talking nonsense about, oh, you know, we're a passive people. No, you're a weak, coward people. You know, somewhere I read again in my Bible, in my favorite book, that when Jesus saw what they had done to the temple, he didn't stop and say, Father, do something. He saw them. And the Bible says he drove them out, overturned tables. He physically ran them out of the temple. He beat them out of the temple. Okay, there's a time and a place for everything. In fact, the Bible tells you that too, that under the sun, there is a time and a place for everything. At some point in time, you have to stand for something. We cannot continue to go like a tree in the wind in whatever direction the wind blows. Everybody comes to Cayman, force their way of life on us, change, or we allow everybody to just change, because we don't stand for anything. We don't take any stance. The only thing we stand for is when it comes time for us to gang together to attack and tear down and celebrate the downfalls of one of our own. I saw that on social media just the other day with Sandy's conviction. There was an individual on there, well, two individuals, cheering, celebrating, you know, celebrating that Sandy had been convicted. I mean, listen, do I agree with Cayman Sandy all the time? No. Does Sandy agree with me all the time? No. And that's the way I want it. I wouldn't want her to agree with me all the time. I'm sure she wouldn't, because we'll never learn. We'll never learn. We'll never improve. If you're only surrounded by people who agree with you, if those are the people you surround yourself with, you a fool.
Exactly.
Okay? But we must recognize the value. And I tell you, look at it. Look at the compass. Look at years ago, before Cayman Mile Road came along, how many times Caymanians would be complaining about unemployment and different things, and the compass used to allow certain people like the Barefoot Man. Think of the Barefoot Man, yeah, to make cartoons.
Making fun of Caymanians.
Yeah, making fun of Cayman, to make a cartoon with a monkey, a very suggestive, which is something white people would refer to black people and call us monkeys. And the compass sat quietly by for years while these racial and hateful slurs were being thrown at us. Now we have a voice for us. And many of you, the other day when you need help with your pensions, Sandy don't have no pension at Fidelity, but she was down there campaigning for you, using her voice for you. Many of these instances that she was talking about, many of you, under the sound of my voice, endured these things. But yet she was in the courtroom by herself. When you all have had direct dealings with this individual, you should have been a line of people down there to ensure this doesn't happen. We know what this is. They want to silence Cayman Mile Road. Cayman Mile Road is a threat. It's a threat to the cartel that is the Cayman Islands, because that's really what we are. In the Cayman Islands on a whole, it's one big criminal entity. It's a cartel.
You know what is so funny, Charles? I don't know if you saw the show on Friday, but I was talking about people like Velma Hewitt, right? Who Ms. Velma actually took to Mr. Matthews' post after the verdict, where he claims that this has been a 3-year ordeal. I mean, he can't even in his supposed what he's claiming now is, oh, let's move on past this kumbaya moment. He can't even be honest, because this has not been a 3-year ordeal. The podcast in question was from January of 2019. So how that becomes, and they didn't actually decide to charge me and notify me of it until 8 months later. So how this becomes a 3-year ordeal, only God knows. But despite that, he puts this post up, and then people like Velma Hewitt, Ryan Ebanks, who's a little one nut boy to me, jumps on their platform because they have their own personal agenda. And I kind of dissected, and I want to bring this up again, what Miss Velma said, because you just mentioning, the things that I have been involved in this community for a really long time. Here we have Velma saying that I need to shut down my quote unquote blog. This was her comment on his post, and do something more productive, like training Caymanians and helping disenfranchised Caymanians with opportunities and improving themselves so they can get a job. And I'm sure Velma probably knows this, but she's, ignoring it. The fact that I have been offering my services in this community dating back at least 20 years, if not more, after I had my business there, Micromatrix in West Bay, training people in the community, doing free training for government at cost for DCFS clients who had no one else at the time who would train them, who had no job opportunities, giving them customer service training, receptionist training, all sorts of stuff. So I don't even know what Ms. Velma is talking about, to be honest. And I suggested that maybe if she focused on helping people in the community, she would have less time to sit down reading foolishness on Facebook and buying into it. But, when you just said to me about, my record of helping people for years, I'm not like Mr. Leslie. I don't have to post every time I help someone. I don't have to get on there and brag about it, because the people who are receiving the help are aware of that, and they know of the assistance that they're receiving.
Absolutely. Sandy, the empty barrel makes the most noise.
Sorry about that, Charles.
That's all right.
That's Miss Coco making her presence known.
Yeah, the empty barrel makes the most noise, Sandy. So some people are not even worth your response. But Sandy, aren't you doing exactly what she's calling you to do? That's what you're doing. That's the platform that Cayman Mile Road is. Where was she? Well, just last week or 2 weeks ago, when you were protesting for people who have not yet been paid their pension.
Yeah, she's in the States somewhere enjoying life.
Right.
She says that all we do here in Mile Road is apparently dig into people's skeletons. So maybe she's got something to be fearful of. I don't know.
Yeah, well, listen, the empty barrel makes the most noise, and I wouldn't respond much to what she says.
Yeah.
Sandy, you're doing a good job. You're doing a fine job. You're doing more for the people of the Cayman Islands than Alden McLaughlin and his government is. Let's talk about it. Have you heard the government say one word about the people who have not yet been paid their pension?
Nope. Not a word.
You know why? Because they don't care. But you know what? Don't worry. Those people in Georgetown will go back to the polls and vote for the majority of the same exact government again. Sadly, they will so do. Or they will elect the same kinds of people again. You see, unless our people change the way they think, they'll always get what they've always gotten. Our people have to become a bold people, and they must become critical thinkers. They have to begin to look at things, pay attention to what's going on, instead of just listening to a few people, not reading for themselves. That's what the Bible says: read, know for yourself, that no one may deceive you. Study to show yourself approved.
Yes.
And people are making decisions, voting for people that I like him. What does he stand for? I'll give you an example. Many people are there handing on a petition on the gay marriage right now. I seem to remember that Alden told the truth in 2006, in his 2017 or late 2016, I think it was, that he tried to pass the bill. It didn't pass. He said, we didn't get it through in this term, but if we get a second term, we will pass it. We will try again. The people re-elected him. Now, some of the same people who re-elected him are sending around a petition. How do you vote for a man not agree with his policies? What's driving his politics? His policies. What's driving his policies? His politics. So
Yeah.
these are the kinds of things that I'm talking about. People making decisions without thinking. People are just jumping on the bandwagon and oh, Cayman Mall Road. Listen, Cayman Mall Road is making a great contribution to the Cayman Islands. Thank God for Cayman Mall Road, because we don't have another independent editorial that is not owned and controlled and that has an interest of the people at heart. Cayman Mall Road does that. And that's what I appreciate.
Well, Charles, thank you so much for coming on here. As usual, you are an integral part of this community because you certainly believe in telling the cold hard truth just like we do. And it is what it is. I mean, the court may say that the truth doesn't matter to them for a particular offense.
How can it be a court of law? But hold on. How can it be a court of law looking for justice, but the truth doesn't matter?
Well, from a legal perspective, I think what he's saying is the very narrow things that this particular offense, and listen, this was very strategic. The Crown went for this offense because this is low-lying fruit. This was an easy offense to get a conviction on, I should say. And so one of the tenets of this offense is not even any real intent. There was no requirement that I intended to harass Mr. Leslie. The only requirement is that I should have foreseen it. So foreseeability, that's what knowingly means in this context of the law. So foreseeability was enough. Now, you could argue that you could foresee anything. I mean, let's be honest here, right? So that's how easy of a case this was on the one hand. And then when you put together a few other bits and pieces with a lawyer that was struggling to understand those legal tenets and probably how the case should have been handled, introducing evidence in a proper way and all these sorts of things, it was just sort of the perfect recipe for me to get convicted. And that's exactly what happened.
You should have foreseen it. I mean, when you listen to the reports and the things that were that were turned in and things that were turned in that people gave to you, the evidence people gave to you, I mean, there was enough there that in a system, perhaps the police should have went out and seek to talk to people to say, wait a minute, there's something wrong here. Yeah. That's what should have been foreseen.
And you know what is interesting, Charles, that you say that is when the police came to me in advance of the podcast, because Mr. Leslie had ran to them that, I was going to be doing this podcast and whatever. And they were seeking to have me not do it. That was one of the things that I said to them. I said, Officer Ormuli, why are you here talking to me? I've not broken any laws. I don't intend to break any laws. I even said that to him, right? But yet you have a man who, by the accounts of tons of individuals, and I mean the screenshots, 60 plus screenshots I have of conversations, people reaching out to me, not the other way around, because I don't know who these women are, right? They have reached out to me, their mothers, them personally. Some of them are ashamed to say that they had given in to this man for a couple of dollars because they were in desperate need of a job or money, and that came with strings attached. And this is what they're sharing, the most intimate details of something that has been, in their opinion, traumatic and has shaped their lives. And I said to Mr. Ormuli, why aren't you doing something about this? And in typical,
exactly. Why weren't they investigating that?
Yeah, in typical Caymanian policing fashion, he said to me, the victims have to come forward and they have to come to us. So we don't have proactive policing here where they hear all these complaints on the street and they're going to go and do anything about it. The victims have to come to them. But stick a pin right there, Charles, because over the weekend, a politician said to me, Sandy, I'm going to write you a reference letter, but help me out by reminding me of the countless times that Cayman Mall Road has assisted in the recovery of property, assisted in getting someone arrested, assisted in making sure
solve the crime for the police.
Yes. And I mean, I started going back through her website. I know I didn't pick all of them out, but there have been the laptop thief who the business owner had filed a report with RCIPS. They did nothing, right? Within half an hour of CMAR posting the story, we had the culprit. And the police were able, well, they weren't actually able to make an arrest because 2 days later, the man was on a flight out of here and went back to Jamaica. But at least now they knew with certainty who that person was. There was multiple cell phones that have been stolen that people send us the video footage of. The last one being the young lady who works at the fish shop in East End. We were able to track her down within 1 minute of the posting of that story. You know, we have been able to warn people about like that young lady, the Thompson girl, who's going around trying to defraud people out of donations for a baby she claims that she's having or has had or is helping somebody out. The story was all over. I mean, there've been so many stories. And this is the thing that the DPP, and again, this is where my lawyer didn't do a sufficient job, is he didn't explain any of that to the court for them to understand there was nothing particular about Mr. Leslie. We don't have a hard on for Mr. Leslie. We have a hard on for anyone who seeks to defraud people, hurt people, abuse people. And it just so happens that the vast majority of this community believes that Mr. Matthew is that sort of person. But there have been countless others that we've done the exact same thing with. We don't see me being hauled into court for any of those.
I want to say something to you, two things to you real quick. I want to say something. You know, the problem is, Sandy, is that we Caymanians, we need to take our country back. We need to take our country back. We need to wake up. We need to take our country back. We got too many foreign nationals in our police. All of our majority of our security force are foreign nationals. It's not their country. These people come from countries where this kind of behavior is the norm. The majority of them come from countries where this kind of behavior is the norm. I was just reading, I'm gonna send it to you. I think I sent it to you on Messenger. Something about the UK, about the instances of pedophilia that is going on, how bad it is, how awful it is in the UK. We see in certain instances, we see it in the other majority of them come from other places where crime is the norm, bribery. They don't see anything wrong with it.
Yep. Oh my God, I mean, there's allegations that goes as high as the royal family.
It's not their country. They can always go back to where they came from. We have to step up and begin to take our country back, to take control of our own destiny, because we are being pushed to the side. Last thing I want to say, Sandra, before I go is, I know I saw you got another case coming up over the Mike Adams situation.
Yeah, so there's 2 more cases actually coming down the pipeline. They're really trying hard. One is the exact charges as this current case in terms of harassment, because you're reporting on a story that people brought to you. So, you know, they seem to want to push this narrative that everything that we do that people don't like somehow amounts to harassment. And then there is the one with the Mike Adams case where they're claiming, I haven't yet been served the papers on that one, but my sources have informed me that I'm being alleged to have incited violence or incited a protest, some foolishness. I don't even know.
Okay, one question on that. So let me ask you a question, Sandy. Do you think that Moses likes the fact that Lee Rich wrote what he wrote in that book?
I'm sure he doesn't.
Exactly. I mean, anybody does something wrong. Let me start from the top, so I can use him as an example. Anybody that does something wrong, will consider it to be harassment, or won't be happy that you're pointing your finger at them and saying you did this, it was wrong. What kind of society are we living in? What kind of justice department do we really have? When you cannot point out who is wrong, that's because you are pointing out them too. That's because you're not exempting them.
Right.
If you were like the compass, silent on certain issues, you would be perfect. That's what it is. They don't want to be pointed out. Now, I want people to understand that really and truly they come up with there was no violence down there. And if they want to say because we blocked the road, well, the owner of the property gave permission and the police were right there that we could block the road, since he had blocked Mike. Since they had blocked Mike, like the lady who owned the property told us we could block the road, so we blocked the road.
Mm-hmm.
There was no violence. We had permission.
Mm-hmm.
It was private property. The owners were there and saying, well, if this man can't drive by what he think is his property, then he can't drive by on our property, which is only right. But you see,
Yeah.
again, I want to encourage people. I want to enlighten people to understand what this is. Now you're
Mm-hmm.
coming under attack for organizing a protest against injustice. That same very day that we were there, Mr. Adams' wife needed the ambulance, and the
Mm-hmm.
ambulance had to stop, wait, and clear rocks. And we understand that while they were there clearing the rocks, the police was standing there watching and didn't help to move one rock. That man's wife could have died in that house.
Mm-hmm.
Our people need to understand the importance of what you're doing. It can't be stressed enough. And the importance of why we need to stand together as a unit. If they arrest one of us, they arrest us all.
Mm-hmm.
Because we are standing on the side of justice. You know, in America, most Caymanians send their children to college,
Mm-hmm.
the universities in the United States. Sandy, I want Caymanians to recognize that somebody was hit in the face with a rock. People were beaten to death. People were lynched. People were killed. In fact, I was reading the other day where a black man who wanted to go to university was put in a mental institution because
Wow.
he wanted to go to university.
Mm.
You must understand. I said that to say this: that if people didn't take a stand in America, you couldn't send your children to America to universities. They have that privilege. In other words, people were willing to give up their lives. People were willing to risk their children to change a system, to change the world we live in today. That you could send your children from Grand Cayman to the United States of America to a university. Don't take it for granted.
Mm-hmm.
When you come here and you walk into a restaurant, you say, I want to sit there because somebody was beaten to death, spit on, hit in the face with a rock so you could do it. Don't take it for granted. But if those people had only looked and said, that's John's problem, where would you send your children to university?
Mm-hmm.
I live in America now. Where would you come to vacation? When you go for vacation, most of you come to the United States.
Mm-hmm.
You must understand that this is a fight that no one man can fight. We are in this together. We have to come together and take our country back. We have to take our country back.
Mm-hmm.
We have to take our country back, Cayman. We're being pushed out in every way, in employment. And one of the voices, the greatest voices we have right now is Cayman Mall Road. And they're after it. Let's stand with Cayman Mall Road.
Mm-hmm.
Let's recognize that we don't always have to agree. And it's good to not have people around you that will always agree with you.
Mm-hmm.
That is fantastic.
Yeah.
But we must recognize, remember what happened to the Jews. Some, when they heard the trains going by and they were in church, they sang louder so the noise would be drowned out. Eventually, when they got their turn, what happened? Who was there? Who was there to stand for them? This is what happened. See, they're just moving along the line. Today it's Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
As I said before, what happened tomorrow when it's your child who's the victim and you care then and want to speak then? Who will stand with you? Because you didn't stand with the others who were standing. They're gone and now you're alone. Okay, man, have a great day. Sunday, I love you there. God bless you. Thank you for giving me the opportunity.
Charles, thank you so much as always. We really do appreciate it. So again, Charles joins us on occasion here. We're always grateful for his words of wisdom, his words of compassion, his words of, I kind of chuckled when the judge said that, I come across as a crusader or someone who's overzealous. And I kind of chuckled at that. I think it's about passion and believing in what you believe in. And Charles and I both share that. So again, thank you, Charles, for taking the time to spend a little bit of that with us this morning.
Thank you, Sandy. Thank you for having me. Have a great day, everybody.
Okay, dear. All right, folks. Again, that's Charles Whitaker joining us from Winter Haven, I believe is where he said, Florida. He's there in Florida, which is one of the hot spots, as you guys well know, for the coronavirus for the last couple of months. It's moving slightly to the mid-east, I believe it is. We'll talk some more about that in tomorrow's program. But lots of you, I think, were definitely impacted by what Charles was saying this morning. So Debbie, thank you so much for joining us. Tamara says that's why the people of Cayman are going to be stuck in the corner. They have no voice of their own, and they've been used and abused all of their lives, and God bring someone to save them, and they're blinded to the facts. Sandy, as a woman with your belief, keep doing what you're doing. God is with you. Thank you so much, Tamara, for that. Sue says, yes, Charles, all that you're saying is true. Irvelyn reminds us of the good that CMR has done. Multiple wallets found with its contents turned up over to people, donations to pay people their rent. Oh, by the way, remember the one guy lost $10,000 cash and other things in a bag? Again, CMR was able to assist him with recovering that as well. So, yeah, I mean, we're not here, like I said, to toot our horn, but if there's any doubt that CMR does far more good than these naysayers who want to focus on one or two stories that they simply don't like, which are still the truth. I mean, it is what it is. That becomes the most amazing part of the whole situation, right? So we will continue the course. I mean, trust me, we are not deterred in any sense of the word. I'm just trying to find this, just reminded me I needed to actually email a young lady at the court's office. But yes, we will not be deterred. We will continue to be firm in our position. John, thank you so much. John says Cayman belongs to foreigners and we need to step up and take control of our future. We can start by preparing our children and youth not to make the same mistakes. So Lisa, thank you so much. So Lisa was saying that could it be a situation with the flag where it was flying at half mast, and that is why it was flying in that particular manner. So Lisa, we actually did a story, and these are the types of stories that sometimes kind of go under radar with people. We did a whole thing on the flag and the protocol for hanging of flags and how it should be done, because we see people misusing the Cayman flags all the time. Sometimes they really insult us. They hang it upside down, which is like a sign of distress, that they're needing some distress. They're not using it for distress as a distress signal. They just don't have any clue how to hang it. So we actually did an entire article on the protocols, and I'm trying to find that now, of how to hang flags properly and how to handle and deal with the Cayman flag. So even if it was a situation where the flag was flying at half mast, because of a death or whatever the situation is, you never hang another person's flag below your own flag. So yeah, that still wouldn't be acceptable. I'm going to try to find that story. I'm just having a look for it here to see if I can find it and share that article, because that was well over a year ago, as I recall, that we actually did a story on, here it is, back in August the 16th of 2018. So almost 2 years ago, we did an article on how to properly handle the Cayman flag. And it's always the same companies over and over again that are misusing and abusing and mishandling our flags, which makes you wonder if they really just don't care. So I'm going to stick that in here, Lisa. So yes, every day you can learn something new. Hey, I learn something new all the time, and I'm thankful for the opportunity. And so this talks about, the country's flag being a symbol of national pride. And this was, again, ironically enough, the post on our social media page didn't mention Tortuga. However, Charles pointed out that it was Tortuga. And so this question back in 2018, almost 2 years ago, was once again about the misflying of the flag at Tortuga, which is the same thing that's happening this weekend. So clearly, whoever works at Tortuga, whether it's a security guard or somebody else, that is responsible for the handling of our national flag simply does not know how to do it, and they continue to not know how to do it, and I guess management just doesn't care. So there is legislation in place that dictates how a flag can be handled and can be used. There are specific instructions. There is a protocol office. So the chief of protocol, Ms. Melanie Sims, has a working document with guidance that comes out of her office as well, that's available for anyone who needs to know how to handle a flag. So there are things that, the flag should never be flying at night. It should not be flown in inclement or harsh weather. Although, sometimes it will get wet during the rain. It shouldn't be flying torn or damaged condition or soiled. It shouldn't be allowed to ever touch the ground. You shouldn't be drawing or decorating on the flag. It shouldn't be flown upside down, which is actually a sign of distress. And we saw that recently as well, allegedly at the Cayman Airways office. And you shouldn't be using it for any other purpose than as a flag. So there are rules about how to fly the flag. So it should be displayed in a dignified manner, befitting a national emblem. No one needs permission to fly a national flag, but they should be flown only from sunrise to sunset. The proper flag to fly on land is the Cayman Islands is the blue ensign one. And at sea, it's the registered vessels with the red ensign on it. And foreign vessels should fly this flag as a courtesy when in local waters. And the appropriate size of the flag or any flag staff is a matter of aesthetics. And then they talk about that. Flag should be raised quickly and lowered slowly. The senior flag should be raised first and lowered last. So you can, like in this case, have multiple flags, but the Cayman Islands one would be considered the senior flag. And it goes into a whole lot of of details here. It says with the flying of foreign flags should only be flown with either the Cayman Islands flag or the Union flag in the superior position. So this now is where the issue is with this particular flag situation. So there's no exceptions for that, I'm afraid, even if it's a situation where it's being done at half-mast. So we hope that, when companies are called out about this, they don't see it as people trying to pick on them. The person who sent it to me was genuinely insulted. They're like, why do these people not care about the handling of our flag? Like, why is this such a hard thing to get correct? The law is there, the policies are there on how to do these things. And so when you're flying foreign flags with the Cayman flag, it is a position that is very easy to get right. The Cayman flag has to be in the superior position. So when other flags are flown side by side with the national flag, the Cayman flag should take the position of honor. So, look this up, folks. It's all there. Like I said, we wrote about it almost 2 years ago now. And it should be, very, very simple to follow these rules because there's nothing entirely complicated about this. There are rules to follow. And I think anyone who handles their flag should be handling it with dignity and respect. And so I'm going to share this again because maybe people have forgotten or they've never really read it. Like I said, we do have a protocol office. So if you have any doubts about how to handle a flag, you can email Ms. Melanie Sims at protocol@gov.ky. And there's some contact numbers here for her, including her cell phone number, to really make this a bit of a no-brainer. So here's what I'm going to do. Not only am I going to share this in this particular post, so all of you can read it and hopefully share with other people. The story, which originally was published in August the 16th of 2018, I will now send this out again to everyone because we do have people who subscribe to the page. So it's over 10,000. It's now reached 10,310 recipients. And those people, every time an article is posted on CMR, they get notified immediately with a little notification that that article has been published. So at least 10,000 people, I don't know where they're located in the world, should now know that this is how you handle the Cayman flag. And so to just stress the point again, we've updated the story and we've resent it out to everyone. Because again, this is a matter of national pride. And if you cannot respect our country and our flag, well, then what are you doing here handling it? You know, maybe you should be sitting at the front desk reception or doing something else. But you should not be handling the national flag if you cannot do so correctly. And we have very few things that we really hold dear and near to us as countries. And I dare say the flag is one of them. You know, Americans feel very, very Americans feel very, very passionate about the American flag, but certainly they're not the only ones that should feel passionate about these things, such as the flag, such as the, just so many different facets of who we are. Our national song, which again, that woman should be made a national hero. That's just very simple, in my opinion. So yes, these are the things that we have to take absolute pride in. So Lisa, I'm so happy that we all can learn every single day. Let me see. Irvelyn, Jennifer, thank you for tuning in. Irvelyn says, Sandy, they did that big A. It was in honor of the Independence Day celebration. I think I'm missing what that's saying, but I think, because they did that because in honor of Independence Day celebration. So it's Independence Day in Jamaica? Okay. But still it's wrong. I mean, there's no exceptions to whether it's Independence Day or not that allow you to fly the flag in different orders. So I'm sure there's lots of other things that they could do in terms of honoring Independence Day. So Carlos says the chronic protection of wrongdoing is a huge part of what emboldens people in the community to comfortably continue with their domestic violence, sexual abuse, and other inappropriate activities. Carlo, I agree with you 150%, because I can tell you once again that these people who are so upset with me and upset with Cayman Mall Road, the likes of, George and Ryan Ebanks, they have an alleged known history where women will tell you that they, especially when it comes to how they treat women and their physical contact with women. I mean, we know about Ryan because, he actually went to court. So he also has a conviction while he's sitting there worrying about me. He has a conviction for far worse things than I'm alleged to have done, including slashing a woman's tires, pushing her out of a moving vehicle and scraping her up and locking her in a car, which really is kidnapping. So he got off easy in terms of what they even charged him with compared to the things that he has admitted to doing because he pled to those things. And, nothing was recorded in his record. So, yeah, I agree, Carlo, that people who are most bothered by what we do here at Cayman Mall Road are the ones who have something to worry about. So, they're the Gethin Heckles of the world who will sit with a company and not pay Caymanians their pension and then think that that's okay. And the singular Caymanian in the company who wants to speak out about those ills gets labeled as a troublemaker and deserving of all sorts of things. So it's beyond ironic. Sue says this is not Jamaica. You fly Independence Day flags in their own country. Well, listen, when it's on a flag pole, there are very, very specific rules as I've just shared. Please go back and read that so that you can see that for yourselves. Let me see. So lots of messages coming in. I'll read some of those right after the show. Miss Melita says, good morning. I missed everything. I know, but I'll rewatch. No problem, Melita. Melita is flying with pride, the flag as her Facebook profile photo. And Lisa says, Sandy, maybe that's showing distress is going on here. It can be with staff who are in distress. Maybe it's a clear sign that something needs to be addressed. Yeah, unfortunately, it's not that kind of distress that the flag would represent. But I do take your point. But listen, the Caymanians are in the most distress in this country sometimes with the foolishness that I see going on here. Anyway, folks, lots of interesting comments. As you can hear, the phone is pinging off the hook here. Lots of people. Breaking news coming in from all over the world. We see Trump making his usual interesting comments. We'll get to some of those probably tomorrow. So listen, it's been a minute that we have not read our daily Om. And I want to thank the person who pointed out, I think they were trying to be cheeky or whatever, but whatever, who pointed out after my conviction on Thursday that I'm right where I'm supposed to be. And I absolutely believe that. I am actually right where I'm supposed to be. This ordeal is meant to be happening for a reason. And I am thankful for it. And I'm sure that there'll be many lessons that I will walk away with this from. But ironically enough, today's Daily Om I thought was very fitting when I saw the headline. I've not read the text yet, but they're always incredibly touching. And this one says, when we don't take actions, our actions shape our lives, but what we don't take actions on can be just as powerful. Now, I almost feel like I've read this one before, but I guess this is the one for today. So, did I read this one last week? I kind of feel like I've read this one already. Maybe they just haven't updated it since the weekend. But you know what? Yeah, because I think I've read this one. Does this sound familiar? Life is sculptured on a moment-by-moment basis. Well, I guess it's worth reading again if they haven't updated it. So it says life is sculpted on a moment-by-moment basis. Every one of the thoughts we think, the words we speak, and the actions we take contribute to the complex quality and character of the universe's unfolding. It simply is not possible to be alive without making an impact on the world that surrounds us. Every action taken affects the whole as greatly as every action not taken. And when it comes to making the world a better place, what we choose not to do can be just as important as what we choose to do. For example, when we neglect to recycle, to speak up, to vote, or help somebody in immediate need, we're denying ourselves the opportunity to be an agent for positive change. Instead, we're enabling a particular course to continue unchallenged, picking up speed even as it goes along. By holding the belief that our actions don't make much of a difference, we may find that we often tend to forgo opportunities for involvement. Alternatively, if we see ourselves as important participants in an ever-evolving world, we may feel more inspired to contribute our unique perspective and gifts to a situation. It is wise to be somewhat selective about how and where we're using our energy in order to keep ourselves from becoming scattered. Not every cause or action is appropriate for every person. I think I haven't read this one before, actually. When a situation catches our attention, however, and speaks to our heart, it is important that we honor our impulse to help and take the action that feels right for us. It may be offering a kind word to a friend, giving resources to people in need, or just taking responsibility for our own behavior. By doing what we can, when we can, we add positive energy to our world, and sometimes it may be our contribution that makes all of the difference. And I couldn't agree more with that for sure. So thank you guys so much for tuning in this morning. I will share that one actually on our platform. I think this might have been from a couple of days ago. So if it's repetitive, my apologies, but hey, it is super, super relevant in so many ways. And we'll continue to share these positive, reflective, because I love to reflect on what is contained in these daily ohms. So big shout out to Lisa who tuned in today. Atlas, thank you so much. Atlas says, I'm genuinely curious, if CMR shares a story, are you to remain unbiased in the telling of that story? Educate me, Journalism 101. Atlas, it depends on the story, because there are stories that all journalists produce that are not always just, A happened, B happened, and that's it. Unbiased is a very subjective word. So what does that mean? When it comes to straight news stories, we try to just provide the facts. Now, if we only have a certain degree of factual information, like we only have one side of it, we can say the other party has been contacted and they just, haven't provided any information, et cetera, et cetera. Sometimes it is not really a straight news story. So as you guys know, there are editorial pieces, there are different types of pieces that can be part of content for news media and for platforms such as Cayman Road, which we don't cover just news. We are much broader than that. So take, for example, Atlas, the R. Kelly story, which looked at him. It took the perspective of, we are looking at him from his victims, from the people around him who may have enabled him in his behavior, who are now speaking out. So I think it really does depend on what it is. Most things that happen in news, we try to be as factual as possible, and we'll state just the facts. And it's not about taking a position one way or the other. This show is not a news show. The Hard Cold Truth is a podcast show that really allows me to have discussions within the community. So we discuss some news items, and we do discuss other things that are happening in the community. And obviously, as you can see from this program, I very much interject my position and my opinion into what the discussions are. And so, that's what it is. People will tell you, oh, CNN has a slant, Fox News has a slant. So most people will agree that all news has a level of biasness in it. Even in choosing the stories that they choose to put out there or highlight could be considered some way of being biased, because you have to pick and choose. You can't put out every single thing as much as you would want to. So I don't think that there's anything in life that can be said to be 100% unbiased, but I think for straight news, we try to do our best. So that is why for me, like, for example, when we talk about someone like a Ryan Ebanks and we go to that story, the source of that story and all of the details wasn't actually the victim at all. It was the court file, the actual court case. Because we wanted to be very, very factual in what had transpired. So we had no interest in, having the story skewed, because we knew that automatically, given who Ryan is, he would assume that that was actually the case. And so, yeah, we went to the court file, we read the court file, and we basically shared what was in the court file. What his statement was, what the victim's statement was, and what he actually admitted to, and what the court had to say. So, that's how we have all the details about the CCTV footage and what happened on this date, what happened on that date. So that's a straight, that is a straight, unbiased story. So I think when it comes to like court cases and stuff like that, obviously, Atlas, you try to be unbiased. But again, even choosing, like I said earlier in the program, like with CNS, like they chose to use in their headline cyberbullying, and they choose to say that the judge said, oh, we're not media. Well, that's not the full context of what he actually said. He said that it was not his job to even determine, if we were media or not. And that's not his role. So to then say that, and then to turn around and only print that he claims that we're not media, you could see how that is a very choosing to put that bit in the CNS story on when these part would come across as being a little bit biased. But listen, we are in the world of media, and media is competitive. Cayman Mall Road has come on the scene with a big, we dropped the bomb, right? Mic drop in a big way. Some of the other media, they'll say to us undercover that, we appreciate what you do. You have a role to play. They agree that we do things differently than them. But regardless of how you slice it, we have taken a stand and we have shaken up the world of media here in the Cayman Islands. And not everybody likes it. And what that means is maybe advertisers who may have gone to them and gave them some of their advertising dollars is now coming to make Cayman Mall Road because they're like, listen, whether people like you or don't like you, they're on your platform and they're reading your platform. And the numbers prove that. You can't argue with the numbers, right? And so recently I had a meeting with an advertiser, and I was showing them all of the raw numbers, which we have no issue with sharing with potential advertisers for who is visiting our platform, where's the audience coming from, how many people we have. And they're like, wow, Cayman Mall Road is an infant, right? 3 years, we just celebrated our 3rd anniversary. And here we are competing against the giants of media. Cayman News Service, who's been around for over 10 years, The Compass, who's been around for 40 years. And we have given them a run for their money. So I think that there are times that, hey, they need to take a jab at us and they're going to do it. It's part of being in the game. So I'm not even going to particularly, bothered by it, but it's like this article. Look at this. We will not let her die in vain. So this is about a young lady who drowned in early June. And they're calling her Jane. And so the Compass did the story yesterday. You see the date on here. And her family, I guess, was reaching out saying, this woman drowned. What are the circumstances around her death? What happened? It was a lot of questions, I think, around what happened to this lady. Now, quite interestingly enough, by yesterday, not long after the story went up, the story has since disappeared. Now, no one is talking about this in the community. No one's saying anything. I mean, people are talking. That's how we got it, because we don't really read the Compass. So we had no idea about this story even going up. People had taken this screenshot and sent it around to people. And they're like, where's the story? They're asking me, where's the story? And I'm like, I don't know. I don't work for the Compass. But clearly, there's a reason why the Compass took it down. What that reason is, we have no idea. We've reached out to our sources. They don't have an idea. So the point that I'm making is, stories go up and they disappear. If it's the Compass, nobody makes a big deal about it. If it was Cayman News Service, everybody'd be like, oh my God, why is this story down? Well, I shouldn't say nobody's made a big deal, because like I said, that's how it came to us. People are like, what's going on? Is there a reason why it's taken down? Who's influenced the story? But it would be such a broader discussion if it was Cayman News Service, CMR, sorry, all the names. If it was Cayman Mall Road, because people would assume that it was taken down because, we must have misprinted, we must have done something wrong. This is how media works, folks. People make mistakes all the time. Stories are taken down because of threats of legal action. And you don't know it because you're just not paying that close of attention unless it's CMR. And also because we put all our business out there. So Atlas says, if you have a license to tell a story and a right to weigh in your opinion, and that story is your podcast, then I don't see why they should have given you a guilty verdict. People go in the media and use provocative language all the time. The government just did that the other day in the homosexual debate. Totally unfair. Hashtag justice for Sandy. Atlas, again, I totally take your point. And that's one of the things that could potentially be an area of appeal, because it does seem like the judge was bothered by the language. And when I say the language, I mean using words like narcissist and pedophile. And he did ask me, do you not find those words particularly offensive? And maybe as an English man, I don't know, maybe he has a different term for what he thinks is offensive, but I don't think those words are offensive at all. I think they are a descriptive word. People use them every single day. And I would be even less offended if what is being alleged has no bearing on me. If someone's calling me a pedophile and I'm not a pedophile, I'm going to address it, no doubt. But is that really going to offend me when I know it's not true? Why would it offend me? If Mr. Leslie knew that he was not a narcissist and he was not a pedophile, why would you be bothered as a public figure even? I mean, I can't imagine had he ever been elected to public office. We're talking about John getting up there and crying. I can't imagine what the situation would have been with Mr. Leslie if people ever had anything negative to say about him. South Marjorie says it's done for all countries. The issue was it was above the island's flag, which is wrong. Yes, going back to the whole flag issue. So Atlas, your point is well taken. South Marjorie says, I'd like to recommend someone to register. She said it wasn't there. I was like, what? I'm not sure what that comment is about. Someone to register what? I know I just got a year older, but it's not that bad. I just saw it there. Hello. Okay, South Marjorie, you've confused me, I'm afraid. Barbara, good morning to you, darling. Barbara is tuned in from Paris, all the way from the beautiful Paris. Okay, folks, that's it. We're absolutely out of time this morning. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Again, appreciate the love and support that you show to us every single day here on our platform. The numbers, I dare say, speak for themselves. So breaking news, we have just had an earthquake off of the coast of Honduras. It was a big one, a 5.7 magnitude earthquake. So we will be putting that up immediately on our platform. So yes, stay tuned to Cayman Mall Road, because that's what we do. We bring you the news as it's happening. So earthquake off the coast of Honduras, which means that some of us here may have felt it. I don't know how far it went out from the epicenter. But folks, the earth is always shaking and baking and changing around, and it just is what it is. And we are thankful for the ones that don't directly impact us. Good morning to Leslie, checking in from Florida. Oh, thank you, South Marjorie. Right, she said the article was removed about the nanny that was drowned. Thank you for clarifying that. I wasn't sure what you were referring to. Leslie says, checking in from my office. There are grounds for your appeal. Thank you that so much, Leslie. Morna, thank you for tuning in as well. We will be exploring all of those things, folks. So stay tuned for the latest and the best news of the day right here on Cayman Mall Road. You guys be safe, and we'll see you, God's willing, tomorrow.